Good morning, everyone. Great to see you all this morning. Very excited to be here at SaaStock for the first time. So I'm Victor, and I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of Synthesia, with the world's largest AI video generation platform. And today I'm excited to share a bit about our journey, some of the lessons we've learned, and some of the chapters that we've gone through. It's been quite a fun deck to put together. Actually, I've never really done a talk like this, which is less about talking about the product and more about our journey. So went down memory lane, found some fun slides from our seed deck, and a bunch of other memorabilia that I'll kind of take you through and share some of my thoughts of where I think generative AI is going this year. For those of you who don't know Synthesia, we're an AI video generation platform. We started the company 6 years ago. We essentially make it easy for people to make video content. Instead of having to record it with a camera and actors and microphones, you simply just type in the script, and we'll then generate a video that looks almost like a real video. You just saw an example of Philippe's avatar before. We are a bit more than 300 people. We did our Series C 3 or 4 months ago, and are really excited about the future of where AI video is going. Even though it feels like it's been a long journey for us, there's still so much more ahead, especially as the technology gets better and better. The way we think about our mission is that it's really simple, but it's really hard. We want to make it easy for people to make video content, but we don't think of that as smaller cameras. We don't think of that as better video editing apps on your phone. We're building technology to eventually replace the entire physical production process. And what that means for us is that you can go from your imagination to a piece of video, all the way from a corporate training video to a Hollywood film, with just a few clicks in Synthesia. And we've made pretty good strides toward that. We're not at the Hollywood films yet, but I think within the next 5 years, we're definitely going to see a Hollywood blockbuster being made entirely with AI. So when you think about these technologies, that's kind of like the path we're on. There's still a lot of unanswered questions, but the foundation of the technology is definitely there. A simpler way to think of this is as AI just being the next camera platform. Right? If you think of camera technology throughout the last 150 years, we started with analog cameras, entirely analog technology. We went to digital cameras, which was invented in the 1990s. Some of your dads probably ran around with a handycam. And that technology has evolved a lot. Now cameras are small, they're affordable, they're absolutely everywhere. But no matter how small and affordable we make cameras, they'll never scale the way that software does, right? So the next natural step is that we go from recording content to generating content. Just like we went from writing on pen and on paper with a pen to typewriting to keyboards, we went in music from having to own the physical instrument to being able to synthesize that on a computer. The next natural step for video production is going to be that it goes entirely digital. I'll talk a little bit more about what we do and who we work with later on, but just to give you a sense of what the technology looks like today, this is a little intro video from one of our AI avatars called Olivia.
Good morning, Dublin. Great to see you all this morning. I'm Olivia, an AI presenter created by Synthesia. Today, Victor will talk you through how to make videos like these at the click of a button. Over to you, Victor.
Have a great day, and I look forward to speaking soon.
So this video was generated entirely with AI. As you can probably imagine, mostly the enterprise used this to create training and learning content, but we'll get back to that in a while. I want to start with the spark and how we actually got started with building this technology almost 7 years ago. I had just moved to London. I knew I wanted to start a company. I knew I didn't want to do accounting software or bookkeeping. I love science fiction. I love the interesting frontier technologies. And I've spent basically a year just working with all kinds of people and all kinds of interesting projects. A lot of that was around VR, AI at the time. This was when Oculus had just came out. And during my work there, I met my today co-founder, Professor Matthias Niesner, who'd done a very interesting research paper called Face to Face when he was at Stanford. This is kind of like the seminal paper in AI video, basically neural networks actually generating video frames. And when I saw this piece of technology, I just felt like it was magic. I felt like I was looking into the future and felt, on one hand, it felt like very weird and far-fetched that we would be able to generate videos with AI. But on the other hand, it also felt like this is definitely going to happen. So my mind got racing, and I started to build a thesis around how can you sequence a company from where we are today with a research paper that barely works to one day being able to generate amazing quality video from just behind your computer. I gathered an amazing team around me. So Professor Matthias Niesner, Professor Lourdes Agapito, and Steffen, my other co-founder on the commercial side of things. And we started to build a thesis around how this could play out. I found the first slide from our seed deck, which is a very long time ago now, where we tried to reason about how this technology would eventually kind of like play out. And I think we're directionally actually quite right. There's something around the technology being used as a small tool in a much bigger video production tool chain with AI dubbing, which I'll show you guys in a second. Moving into this kind of world of synthetic actors, which is what you just saw before, and eventually being able to move to sort of full scene synthesis in 5 years' time, which would be in a couple of years, 2 years from now, I think, something like that. We felt like this was really exciting. We felt like the prospects were great. And we just needed to go out and raise some money, which would probably be really easy, right? We had a great team. We had a really interesting vision and thesis. But it turns out that talking about generative AI in 2017 was far from as appealing to investors as it was today. So when we went out, it took me 9 months to raise $1 million. I got turned down by more than 70 investors. I think almost every VC in Europe turned us down. And at this point, it was a very fringe idea. So to some extent, it's understandable that it's hard to kind of see what this could evolve into. But eventually, we did manage to close a seed round. Mark Cuban responded to a cold email from my co-founder, Steffen, and gave us $1 million to begin building a company, and then we incorporated in October 2017. For all the founders out there and people fundraising, cold email works. This is the email we sent to Mark Cuban, which eventually landed us the $1 million. It's a pretty interesting process. We sent this. We had an email thread with Mark for 12 hours, and around 4 a.m. in the morning UK time, he committed to investing without ever jumping on a phone call with us, which was pretty exciting. We were off to the races. We had $1 million, and now it was time to build a product. It turned out that taking a research paper and actually making something out of it is a lot harder than it sounds. These things don't really work. And where the technology was at the time was definitely not able to produce like real interesting video. It was not able to produce the avatars we saw before. The first thing we felt was really interesting was this idea around AI dubbing, which was the idea of take an existing video, replace the voice track with a different language, and then reanimate the facial expression to sort of match it, right? It's actually had a bit of a resurgence the last couple of months. A couple of other companies who kind of like jumped into this. We built the technology. We did a bunch of quite cool things. This is playing without sound, but we did a campaign with David Beckham. We made him speak 9 different languages. There was a lot of hype. People were very interested. And we basically took this product to market. But what we figured out was that working with the existing video industry, so advertising agencies, film companies, production companies, what we had was not a painkiller. The house wasn't on fire, right? All these people, they got to produce amazing content every day. That's kind of their job. We were very little part of the value chain of actually making a video like this happen, which meant that for us as founders, it was incredibly difficult to be in control of our own destiny. So while we were doing this, it wasn't a complete disaster. I think we did $700,000 in a year or something like that of revenue with this AI dubbing. But it was really, really difficult. And it was very clear that this was not going to scale to a VC outcome. During this time, though, we met a lot of people. The R&D folks were, of course, doing R&D on all the AI. Me and my co-founder, Steffen, was just flying around the world and just met, I think, 1,500 people probably in the span of 2 years to really try and understand video from first principles. And what we learned was that there are billions of people in the world whose house is on fire. They're desperate to make video content, but they can't because they don't have the budget, they don't know where to start, and they frankly just don't have the skills to do it right. And for these people, if we could produce videos for them 1,000 times faster and easier and 1,000 times cheaper than shooting it with a real camera, that would be good enough for them, even if the quality of the videos was slightly lower than what you would get with a camera. And that led us to this idea of text to video, the product that we have today, which is you type in some text, it will give you a video in just a few minutes. We started testing out this idea. This is our very first MVP called Enact. And the way that this actually worked was it was just a very thin front end we could go in, you could select an avatar, give us a script, click submit, and we'd deliver a video back to you within 24 hours. Now, what actually happened at the back end when we received that message was that everyone in the office panicked because now we had to get a video in 24 hours, which was incredibly unscalable and not very fun. But doing this for some months really just demonstrated to us that there was something very interesting about this idea, even if we were kind of hacking it with a human in the loop at this point in time. So we kept building on this, and we released the first version of a SaaS product. We made the technical breakthroughs to actually be able to go from a piece of text to a final video, and launched our first SaaS platform, which looked like this, in the second half of 2020. This is an incredibly simple product. You can select one of these avatars, put them in the middle of the screen, give us a script, and make basically a clip of an avatar saying something to the screen. The quality of the videos was way worse than it is today. The lip sync wasn't there, and in many ways, it was a very, very broken product. But as soon as we launched this, it was just a watershed moment. People just flooded us. People wanted to pay us. People wanted to buy enterprise licenses. And it was just absolutely crazy to see how quickly this was growing, despite the product being very, very broken in many, many ways. Previous to doing this, I've been involved in a lot of startups, and I think the feeling we had internally was just that this must be what real, true product market fit looks like. It's just a force of nature we've started, and people just want this product so, so, so bad. So this became kind of like the inflection point, or the first inflection point for the company. We figured out that this problem and this solution was really, really interesting. We began building the platform. We began to scale. We started to hire not just PhDs to build the AI technology, but SaaS folks to actually build as a platform. And the company just started taking off. From all of these people who came in, the entry-level pricing was $30 a month, or you can make a free demo video to start with. We started to see the signal in what people actually were using our technology for, right? And how we could build a product around that. And the first insight we had, which is pretty obvious, is that in 2023, people want to watch and listen. They don't want to read that much. May not be true for everyone in this room. I'm also a very avid reader, but if I have to learn something, I actually usually start on YouTube and go from YouTube to maybe buying the book on Amazon if I'm really interested in it. But this is a core insight, and this is especially a problem in the enterprise, where it's really difficult to make video and audio content, right? In our personal lives, we generally get to listen to podcasts, watch YouTube videos. There's a flood of content we can watch, but when we go to work, it's a lot of PDFs, it's a lot of PowerPoints, and it's just generally a lot of text. So we broke the problem down, and we figured out, okay, everybody wants to make video content. That's very obvious. It's just better almost no matter what you're doing. But the process to make video is incredibly unscalable, right? You have to write a script, that's pretty hard. You have to film someone, that's also pretty hard. And if you're filming someone, if you're lucky, you work with an actor who remembers their lines. If you're unlucky, you're going to work with an executive who forgets their lines and ums and ers and just screws it up all the time. So even that part is really difficult. Then you have to edit it in Adobe Premiere or something. If you have to translate it, that's a whole other process. And God forbid you recorded something wrong or something changed in your business and you have to update it, you're basically screwed, right? Because anything that comes off a camera or a microphone cannot really be edited, back then at least. So this was kind of like the perfect storm for creating a SaaS product that people could use to create video content without having to go through this super painful process. And that's what led us to the platform we have today, but still the same concept. Today it's a lot more advanced. And one of the things we learned very early on, which is a very, very important insight for us in terms of building the right go-to-market and building the right product, was people sort of look at us initially and think that we're replacing video production. And that's not necessarily wrong, and it'll be more right over time the better the technology gets. But we found out pretty early on that actually what people are doing is they're replacing text, which is a small and subtle difference, but very, very important, right? People are not saying, let's not film our Super Bowl ads or our Facebook ads or things you otherwise would have filmed with a camera and use Synthesia. No, what people were doing was saying, actually, if you're a big fast food restaurant and we have this 40-page handbook to onboard and train someone, what if we could make that into a video? That would be really, really powerful, right? They did that, and they saw that the information retention went up by 8 to 10 times. So people's mindset around this stuff very much became, okay, actually we can use this technology to replace PDFs, slide decks, and all the other text we have in the company. And that's very different from selling to someone who produces video content. And led us to build a product that is so easy to use that anyone in the company can use it, which is where we are today. We very intentionally built this to be able to be used by someone who knows how to use PowerPoint. So if you take the insight that people are replacing text with videos from Synthesia, and that we enable everyone to do it themselves without having to go through the video production department, those two things in combination really enabled us to grow really, really, really fast. And I attribute those two insights to a lot of our success today. As we built out the platform, we figured out that all these parts of the process, right, all these parts of the stack of building video, you can actually replace with AI, which is incredibly powerful. And that's what we did, and that's the product that you see today. As we found product market fit and started scaling, we obviously needed to hire a bunch of people. Ultimately, the people is what makes a company. There are lots of people who have said many great things about how to build great teams, how to hire people. So I think I'll skip this part in the interest of time. But during this phase of scaling the company, this is obviously like a really, really important key to being successful. Last part I want to talk about is what now, right? We've been at this for 6 years. We had our inflection point in 2020. The last 12 months have been crazy for everyone. But we're really just getting started. This is a slide I used to have in 2017, 2018, when I was doing conferences. And this slide used to blow people away. This is, if you can't see, this is all AI-generated images. What you're seeing there all the way to the right was what the state of the art was in 2017. For those of you who are following Gen AI today, this is kind of almost ridiculous today, right? You have Midjourney, where you can make images of absolutely anything. You can create AI avatars of yourself. The world has moved on very, very much from these very small square portrait photos in low quality. But back then, this used to blow people away, right? So the rapid speed of iteration in AI right now is just absolutely amazing. Some of the stuff we're working on is taking our avatars from being kind of these static ones that are looking at the camera, sort of green screen style, having them be able to walk around the room, do a dance, use their arms much more. And for us, the ultimate sort of expression of this is going to be hopefully sometime next year, where you could just prompt two people are standing in a wooden cabin, person A says to person B, whatever, and you can basically be the director of these avatars without having to understand anything else and how to describe what you want in text, which is, of course, a lot of the sort of UX paradigm we're seeing pop up with a lot of generative AI. This is not done yet, but if you look at how realistic the movements here are, they look very realistic, right? They look almost like it's a video that's been recorded. And this is the extent to which these technologies are going to evolve. We're also working on fun things like changing the clothes of the avatars. That's going to launch pretty soon, so you can just type in some stuff and customize your avatar and make it someone that represents you. But I think most excitingly of all in the short term is the ability for these AI systems to truly understand human emotion and performance in a way that they can't really today. So you've seen two examples. The one I showed you before and Philippus, and they're still a little bit stilted. The voices don't really necessarily convey what the script is around. That's about to change. This is a sneak peek of some tech we have coming up. And when you look at this, then try and look at how her body language and how the inflection and the prosody in her voice kind of matches what she's talking about, right? So the first one will be a little bit sad, next one will be a little bit more engaged. And this is what we're going to see in the short term with these systems, that we can actually teach them how to convey emotion and realism in a very different manner than what we can today.
God, today just hasn't been my day. Everything seems to be going wrong, and a cloud of disappointment hangs over me like a perpetual rainstorm. It's like the universe is playing a cruel trick.
The mere thought of what's about to unfold sends a rush of exhilaration through every fiber of my being. It's as if sparks of joy are igniting within me.
So already this, right, kind of just feels more real, more natural. This is going to get way better before we release it, probably by the end of the year. But the advent of these very large AI models just gives this sort of weird magic spark. That's going to be a complete game changer for what we think about AI video and voice. We can even teach these systems to mimic the human flaws in a very eerie way to some extent. I'll play you this clip here, which is, again, this is purely text-to-speech, right? This is just us literally typing in text, and the AI system's figuring out that if you put in and in the script, it should probably be performed something like this, right? So if you listen to this one, this is very interesting.
And I don't think doing text-to-speech is so hard. It's just, you know, mimicking human traits.
So this almost sounds like someone on a podcast, right? Who's like saying something while they're thinking about it. And we're going to be able to project these sort of human flaws into these systems as well. And I think it's hard to comprehend just how realistic this stuff's going to get in the next couple of years. Not just with video, but with everything else as well, which is going to be very exciting. For us, in terms of thinking about generative AI, I think it's really important for those building out there that you're very intentional about what you want to be the best in the world at and what you want to partner your way out of. For us, that's about digital humans, it's about digital voices. But there's so many other tools out there that really are force multipliers and all this stuff, right? I'm sure a lot of you have played around with OpenAI and GPT technologies. For us, we also use them. We can help you write the script. We can help you take a Word document and make it into a conversation between two people. There's image generation. There's all these other tools that are really just an API call away that can help you build entirely new experiences. And that's also how we think about this stuff. In a couple of years, I think the winning companies will be really good at one thing, but they'll also be really, really good at combining many different technologies to provide a truly AI-powered creator experience, which is very exciting. I'm a bit short on time here, but just wanted to finish off with a few lessons that I feel like we have learned in building an AI-first company, which I think is not just new technology, but also a new type of company. And to just go through them quickly here, the first one is avoid what I call innovation potholes. So we've been through almost 7 years now, right? And there's been many hype cycles. There's been Web3, there's been VR, just gone through generative AI hype. And something I think we've always done well is avoid falling into those traps of like, oh, now we need to be a Web3 company because that's cool. What happens when you build interesting and cool technology is that a lot of big companies, big brands will come to you and they'll say, hey, we really want to do a very cool advertisement with a celebrity or our CEO, and we're happy to pay you $500,000 for it if you can change the product roadmap a little bit. I'm not saying all of that is necessarily bad, but what happens in all these hype cycles over and over and over again is that startups get thrown off path because they're doing something for a big customer who's not actually doing it because they get any kind of utility out of it. They're doing it because they get PR value out of it. Those are very, very different things, right? Like Coca-Cola did an ad with AI image generation in it, for example. I'm sure they paid a lot of money for that, but that's not because they want to change how they make their ads, right? It's just because they felt like this is the moment we're in right now, we have to do something with AI. And again, it's not always bad. You have to be very conscious of not falling into these kind of innovation potholes, because it can really throw off your company in a big way. The second one is, my thinking on this is like the more exciting technology you're building, and the more visionary technology you're building, the more you have to dumb your product messaging down, because otherwise you're really going to confuse people. That's something we've spent a lot of efforts on. So what do I mean with this? Well, for something like us, I'll skip to the next one. I think hopefully it makes sense, but just really important not to be caught in futuristic thinking all the time. Balance between exploration and exploration is also really important. When are you inventing new technology, and when are you exploiting the current state of the art? Those of you building AI will face this all the time, waiting for the step change or improving what you already have. It's a really, really difficult thing. AI first is not just a tech stack. It's a different type of company. You're going to have two big tech teams, one AI, one more kind of traditional SaaS. They're going to think in different ways. They're going to be incentivized in different ways. And it's really important that you as a founder understand this in depth. The research community is very different from the SaaS community in many ways. Great technology is always controversial. I think this kind of explains itself. But if you're looking for signal of what interesting technologies are out there, they're probably a little bit controversial today. And that's a strength, not a weakness. It makes it interesting, and also means you have a chance to shape the future of that particular technology. So I'd look for that if you're thinking of what could be the next big thing. Last, stay alive. If you're right, you'll eventually reap the benefits. The first 3 or 4 years for us was painful because we were early. But eventually, we stood the test of time. We were a cockroach, as I think Paul Graham says, and we survived long enough to find the product market fit and now also ride the wave of generative AI now that the whole world is thinking about this. Thank you very much, and have a good rest of the conference.